Hi, Coach. This is Gustavo Ortiz with Univision 19. Do you speak Spanish, right?
Uh,
No.
Muy poquito.
Okay. How is the team getting ready? How is the team after we know that last week you have 4 players with COVID-19? How is the team getting ready to play this tournament in one city?
Yeah, we had three players test
Okay.
positive, and the guys are excited to be back in the gym. The guys are very aware of what is going on and what this is going to look like for the next the few weeks leading up to going to Orlando, and they've done a great job of being responsible, respectful of others, following the guidelines, and slowly getting themselves back into shape. And that's kind of what the goal is for right now.
Jason Jones, please unmute.
Hey, how you doing?
Jason, are you unmuted?
Yeah, okay, here we go. How you doing, Luke?
Jason, I'm good. How are you? Yeah, I got you
Good.
now.
Yeah, just health-wise, I know you had the 3 guys test positive, but you had a couple of guys who went into the suspension with injuries. Marvin and I believe Justin. Just how was Marvin doing? How was he looking? And just how was Justin as well?
Yeah, Marvin, is a guy that in talking to throughout the suspension of play, continued to, tell me how good he was feeling, but we wanted to get our hands on him and see. He's been working out here. Our trainers feel confident that he's ready to start playing again. So that's good to see. Justin the same way. His workouts have been going well and ready to play. So pretty much everyone that was banged up a little bit is doing better and excited to kind of be back on the court.
So do you treat this almost like a training camp? Like, you hit so much time off. How do you just integrate not just them, everyone into that flow of getting back into playing?
Yeah, it's kind of phases, and there's not a timeline set on those phases for us right now because we have to make sure we're ready to move on to phase 2 before we not by a certain date, but by when people are physically ready to do that with how much time we've had off. So our top priorities right now are making sure, 1, everybody's comfortable, 2, making sure everybody's healthy, and then as that's happening and the environment and the culture is taking over again, then getting some skill work, some individual skill work in, and then a bunch of conditioning, which we're working very closely with our medical department on as far as what's the best approach with guys coming back with being out for so long. So the phase 1 is let's get to Orlando as close as possible with a close group that's healthy and ready to kind of pick up that intensity of play and contact once we're cleared to do so.
James Ham, unmute, please.
Hey, Luke, how's it going?
Good, James. How are you?
Good. All right, so you had 3 players test positive, and I know there's HIPAA stuff and all that, but all 3 have basically confirmed. Where are you at with those 3? Are there any concerns they're not going to be able to get back in time to actually participate? And where are you at with Jabari Parker and him being in Chicago and being seen out in public over the last?
No, this. You don't want anyone to get sick, but if you're trying to find the bright side, right? If you test positive now, you're most likely, from what I can tell, you'll be ready to play by the time games come around in Orlando. All three of those guys are doing much better. They're still getting, we're doing testing every other day. And for those guys, we either send medical staff to them, or they're doing kind of a drive-by testing where they don't even get out of their car at the facility. So they're all reporting doing much better. We're just following the protocol of the NBA. I've talked to Jabari about being out in public, and kind of reminded him, one, that even though he's been cleared to end his self-isolation, that we still can't have anybody who gets sick doing hard physical work until a later date where you're cleared again by doctors with how this virus attacks. So he's been reminded of that, and him, as well as everyone on our team, has been reminded of the importance of wearing face masks and being socially responsible, not just for ourselves, but for everyone we come in contact with. So we've had those conversations, but all three players that have tested positive are doing much better.
Sean Cunningham, unmute your mic.
Hey, Luke, how you doing?
Good. You?
Not bad. New normal, right?
Yeah, the new normal.
Just to be clear, as it pertains to Orlando, you mentioned your phase about everyone being comfortable, healthy. In terms of being comfortable, do you have any reason to believe that all your players are opting in for Orlando? Is there anyone who maybe have apprehension, maybe not wanting to do so?
Yeah, that's not the understanding I have. I'm very open with our players, and I've made it very clear that no judgment, no pressure, totally understandable. If players or staff choose to opt out of going, we're totally in support of those decisions, and not a single player has come to me with that concern. So from the best of my understanding, our guys are comfortable with going. They're excited to go. And kind of when I'm talking about that being comfortable is, we were all gone for so long, and being back in the gym, and can I not, I'm not shaking hands, social distancing, wearing masks around, all of that just, creates a different environment than we're used to within a close sports organization. So a lot of that comfortability is just kind of, like you said, the new norm, getting comfortable with, when we get here, guys bring their own workout clothes. They have a change of shoes waiting for them that they don't take out of the arena. So there's a lot of little things that are going to take us getting comfortable with. But as far as going to Orlando, my understanding, everyone on our team is good with it and excited about it.
Jim Crandall.
Sort of, at least through the computer, although right now all I can see is Sean Cunningham, and I've had enough of him. But relative to Orlando, coach, there's been a lot of talk by the league and also the Players Association about using Orlando as something of a platform to express their concerns about social justice. Have you talked to the players about that? Will that be a team thing or an individual thing? Do you have a plan for handling that? Any light you can shed on that for me, please?
Yeah, it'll be both. And I agree. I think both sides make good points. But, I think by playing basketball, it gives players, coaches, organizations a platform to speak and try to make a positive change. So I've talked to a lot of the players individually about it. Again, we as an organization encourage and are 100% behind our players, our staff, expressing themselves how they feel is going to make a positive change. We did Bobby Jackson, who's I'll go and call him a legend here in Sacramento, was a big part of a peaceful protest that happened downtown here. And myself, my family, the players that were in town all showed up, marched, had the face mask on. But, that's just one of those things where it was a great event, and guys are stepping up to try to help make a change. We've teamed up with the Minnesota Timberwolves and done work with Coach Saunders and I and some of the players to kind of get messaging out there. And we'll continue to look for opportunities to make a change, and a change that needs to happen. By playing these games and being out there, I just think it continues to give our players and our organizations a great opportunity to bring people together, which sports does an amazing job of, and then also continuing to bring awareness to what's going on out there and how we can make it better.
Just a basketball-related question, Coach, if I can, please. You said your guys were excited to be back. I mean, do they seem to be in pretty good shape? I mean, I know there's a difference between game shape and, being in shape. And the second part is, can you talk a little bit about what you're doing specifically in practice, maybe today and for the next few days?
Yeah, well, it's I was pleasantly surprised with the every time I reached out, every player tells me that they're in their hometowns working out and running, and they give me the answer you're supposed to give the head coach. But I was pleasantly surprised to see what our guys look like when they got back. We did we had the strength department run a conditioning test with the guys, and everyone checked out to be to do pretty well on that. You're never in basketball shape unless you're playing 5-on-5 real basketball. So we know that we're not there, but part of it, like I said to start, is we just want to make sure we're giving our guys the best chance of not getting hurt early on. And it feels like our guys are in a good place with that. The individual workouts are allowed to become mandatory now, which won't really matter for us because most of our guys were showing up to optional ones. And again, it's creating a new norm. It's, coaches have face masks on while they're rebounding. We have gloves on while you're rebounding. Only a certain amount of people on the court. So there's some things we have to get used to. But our guys have been showing up. The scheduling has to be set so that there's not too many people in the gym or the weight room or the training room. And they've, again, been respectful and on time with a lot of that. So even though it can be mandatory now, not much will change with how our guys have kind of been approaching their work since they've been back into town.
Jason Anderson, go ahead.
Luke, good to see you. How are you, buddy?
Jason, I don't see you, but I'm doing all right. How are you?
You're probably better off. Hey, so with back to Jabari's situation, is that fully resolved on the league side? There was some question about dates and whether he had violated the protocol or not. Do you know yet whether there will be?
Yeah, I don't have the specifics on it. What I do know is what I shared, which is that he was cleared to end his self-isolation. But that's, I don't have the specifics of where the league, if they're done looking into it or what. I mean, this is all new for all of us. So, where it would even go from there. So, for now, that's all I've been told.
Dan Wilkie, go ahead and unmute.
Hey, Luke.
Hey.
Hope you're doing well. Kind of two-part question. I'm curious, how do you view the 60 games and already happened this season and kind of how important that'll be in Orlando? Will there be just kind of a seamless continuation? The good teams that were good, the teams that were playing well, or is this going to be totally new? And then secondly, if you can look back to your time as a player, particularly your time on those Lakers teams that knew they were going to be or thought they were going to be playing deep into the playoffs, what would it have done to kind of hit the emergency brake in March on those?
Yeah, It's going to be a challenge for everyone, from the top seeded teams that have had the amazing 60 game regular season so far to the teams like us who are trying to get into that playoff scenario. And the challenge is going to be finding that rhythm again. Now, the difference is, you talk about teams that I played on that were going deep into the playoffs. I think they approach this whole thing with a completely different mindset than we do. They use the 8 games in the training camp and everything to prepare for kind of peaking as these 8 games end and going into the playoffs. Now, for teams like us and Phoenix and San Antonio, Portland, New Orleans, we have to find a way to create that chemistry and be peaking from day one of the 8 game season that's going to happen. So that's a completely different challenge, and it doesn't carry over. I know we were playing well towards the end of the season, but it's for every team. It's starting over, really. Now we're further along because now we know each other, but that continuity needs to be found again, and you got a limited window with a lot of distractions that are real, that are out there. So it's, I think whatever team can kind of find their stride the quickest and get back to playing how they were, between us that are fighting to get in, will have a big advantage.
G-Man, Gary Gerald, on my please, or on me.
Hey, Coach, a couple of thoughts about what you're able to do within this next week before you go to Florida. What kind of restrictions are there? You touched on it. Will you, by the end of the week, be able to play 5-on-5, for example?
No, for now, we're just, again, we know when we get to Orlando, that's when the real training camp is starting. So all we're really trying to do at this point is get closer to being able to hit a training camp. Normally when training camp starts, you got guys start coming back in September, and you got a month to play, and they're all playing pickup, and that's kind of how you build into it. Now it's much tighter than that. So we're going to continue to do our individual workouts, our skill work, watch film as far as getting familiar with the offense and terminology again. But a big part of this next week will be weight room and conditioning with the weight staff, the training staff, as far as just continuing to focus on getting our bodies right and available to really compete when we get out of quarantine in Orlando.
Do you have all of your coaching and training staff available this next week?
This week, yes. And then we have a list of 35 that needs to be turned in as far as the traveling party. But as right now, yeah, everybody's in town and available until we leave for Orlando.
Thanks.
Dave McMiniman.
What's up, Luke?
Dave, you figured out the raising the hand?
With little help from Jason, John, and Ricky helped out too. Speaking of that list that you just referenced, I think teams are supposed to submit it today.
Yeah.
Could you take me through, even if you don't name the names specifically, what that was like for you and your organization in terms of your input or Vladdy's input, or how you guys made that list?
Yeah, so we've spent a lot of time on it, and I've even talked to other coaches. Everybody's struggling with it because we know how hard it is and how much of a commitment everyone makes to work in this league. And now this is kind of a chance to be part of the playoffs or try to get into the playoffs, and you're having to tell people that they can't go. And at least for us and some of the other head coaches I've talked to, everyone wants to be a part of this. And so it's a challenge as far as finding that right mix between the training staff and the coaching staff and players, and how much practice time will there be? Well, there's going to be a ton of it, until the game starts. And then once the game starts, there's not really any practice. So, there's, who are you bringing? And so it's been very challenging, more challenging than I would have anticipated. But yeah, I've been in talks with Vlade. I've been in talks with Tina, who heads up our downstairs medical department. And we're meeting again when I get off of this Zoom call to kind of finalize that list. It's the drafts we've made constantly changes a little, and you are right, today, Dave, is the day we have to have it in. But it's been hard.
Just to follow, does the number feel anywhat arbitrary? Like knowing that between 22 teams, you're going to have hundreds or more than 1,000 people total. That if it was 40 people, it could make a big difference, right? I wonder if there's any.
Yeah, and I think most of us continue to ask for more people, but I think that's probably natural. And the NBA is they've added some people that are coming, but aren't included on our 35 list. But they've stuck strong to that, so that's kind of the number we're working with. But yeah, we all want more. But 35 is what we have, so that's kind of where you got to find a way to make that work.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Marshall Harris, go ahead.
Hey, Luke. Hopefully you're doing okay. A couple of quick questions. Number one, when you talk about going to the bubble, there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about this being a different type of situation. You've been on both the coaching, players, even as far as the media. Does it surprise you at all that seemingly no one nationally is giving you guys a chance to even, I guess, be in the playing game? And has there been much talk amongst you and the players about having, not necessarily extra motivation, but kind of being counted out as part of the group that's headed to Orlando?
No. That's our focus has been on us. And like I said, I think the teams that can build that continuity and that comfort again quickly will give themselves a chance. So we preach it all the time. We do our best not to let outside influences get in the way of what we're trying to do. And we have not discussed that as a group. We're in here just trying to get back to where we were. And if we can get back to where we were towards the end of the season, we'll give ourselves a good chance. And that's all you can ask for. You ask for a chance, an opportunity, and then it's up to us to make the most out of that. And that's kind of where our mindset is.
And just to get some insight on leading us up to this part of, I guess, getting back together and everything, how much were you in contact? I mean, I know the NBA didn't want guys playing in games, and obviously you see Buddy Hield playing in the Skins League and everything else. Was there much conversation about what guys were doing before you guys got back together? And were you at all concerned that, playing games would lead to something like a situation you have right now with 3 guys testing positive for COVID-19?
Yeah, I was in constant contact with our guys. Our coaches were, but this is a grown men's league, and this is we talk to our guys, but you can't make them do anything, and all we can do is encourage them to follow the guidelines that we've all been given. Do your best to social distance, wear a face mask when you're out, wash your hands as often as possible, stay away from shaking hands, those type of things. That's what we can tell our guys to do. We can't make them do it, but we can encourage them to. And there's always going to be risks, especially with how contagious this is. And playing basketball is part of that, but that's also what a lot of these young men have done their entire life. When things get tough, you play basketball. You take a week off, you play basketball. So it's it's what we know, and it's what we do. So the risk is there, and unfortunately we have some tests, but some positive tests. But now that's what it is, and we move forward and learn from it.
Matt George.
Coach, how are you? Hope all the family is well.
Thank you.
Have you, now that you know a little bit more about Marvin Bagley and hopefully his ability to be able to go, have you thought a lot about reincorporating him, the expectations for him as maybe a starter or an important role player, or is it too early still for that?
It's way too early for that still. I'm thrilled that he's feeling better and looking good. And you look into the season, and one of the things where you look at missed opportunities, and unfortunately, and not to Marvin's, injuries are part of the game, but he missed a ton of this season, and that's just so much room for growth for a young player that needs to happen. You need to play to continue to get better. So we'll take a look at it when we get to Orlando and we're really scrimmaging, and we'll see who's playing well. And like I said, we were playing really well to end the season, so we weren't really going to mess with what we had going on rotation wise at that time. And now that there's been this much time off, we gotta take a look at it again, and we got to see who's playing well, who's shooting the ball well, who's in shape. Rashawn has had a heck of a year. Alex came over in the trade and really made an impact for us with his physical play and his protection and just his overall size. So there's a lot of things, playing Harrison and Belly at the 4 gave us a lot of spacing that we seem to play well with. So there's a lot of things we're going to look at. And like I said, it's a quick 8 games to try to make some noise. So we're going to go with whatever we feel is going to give us the best opportunity and chance to win.
Maybe last question, Mark Dinsby.
Hey, Coach, how do you attack this in terms of, given the restrictions you have right now with practice? Realistically, how long will it take, do you think, in your mind, before you guys can get up and playing good, comfortable, solid Kings basketball? And then looking at your schedule real quick too, what do you think about those 8 games you got?
Well, I think it's going to take the whole time we're out there, and that's if we can really maximize it and really, get a little bit lucky where hopefully we don't get any more positive tests, hopefully we don't get any injuries, then hopefully right before that first game starts, we'll be at that level as far as physically ready to play the way we want to play. With the 8 games, look, everyone out there is fighting for playoff spots. So you're playing tough teams every single night. And, you look at the fact we played New Orleans twice and how well they've been playing and things like that. It's going to be a great opportunity for our guys to have that type of pressure and importance on each game. And everyone's got to go out there and earn wins, and it's going to be challenging for everybody, but also exciting and a good opportunity.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
Session with Coach Walton. We will be back shortly if everyone can stay on the Zoom. We'll be back shortly.